Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida. Ga kon kan moku shou nyorai. Ga kon kan moku shou nyorai. Jochi shou goku tokushu. Go jokushu joryo piku. Dosho nyorai joho shin. Yobyaku. Today we commemorate the birth of Siddhartha Gautama, who later became Shakyamuni Buddha. It is with a sense of indebtedness, reverence, and gratitude that we acknowledge his great contribution to humanity. His teachings of the larger sutra has provided us with the Nembutsu. We express our deepest appreciation for our oneness with wisdom and compassion as we recite the Nembutsu, Namo Amida Butsu. In our present situation of the COVID-19 pandemic, we remain isolated in our home to prevent the spread of this virus. In the wisdom of this reality, it is our compassionate action in remaining separate from each other that will hasten the resolution of this pandemic. Although we remain physically separate, the Dharma reminds us that we are always interconnected as one humanity. So we celebrate this Hanamatsuri physically separate, but held within the oneness of the Nembutsu, Namo Amida Butsu, which assures us of the spiritual connection. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Our special guest speaker, we're fortunate to have Reverend Henry Adams. He has provided us with a video of his Hanamatsuri Dharma talk in both English and Japanese. A separate talk is provided to our Dharma School children. Reverend Adams grew up in Buffalo, Minnesota. He first became interested in Buddhism in high school during a one-year exchange program in India. He received a master's degree in Buddhist studies from the University of Michigan. He moved to Miyazaki, Japan, where he worked for the Miyazaki prefectural government. He then moved to Kyoto, where he graduated from Cho Bukkyo Gakuin Buddhist Seminary. He has served the BCA since 2010 as a minister in Oxnard, Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo, and Guadalupe temples. He is now the resident minister of the San Mateo Buddhist Temple. Here is Reverend Henry Adams.
Namanda Butsu Namanda Butsu Namanda Butsu Namanda Butsu Namanda Butsu Namanda Butsu Namanda Butsu. I invite you to join me in Gassho. Concerning compassion, there is a difference between the path of sages and the Pure Land path. Compassion in the path of sages is to pity, commiserate with, and care for beings. It is extremely difficult, however, to accomplish the saving of others as one wishes. Compassion in the Pure Land path should be understood as first attaining Buddhahood quickly through saying the Nembutsu, and, with the mind of great love and great compassion, freely benefiting sentient beings as one wishes. However much love and pity we may feel in our present lives, it is hard to save others as we wish. Hence, such compassion remains unfulfilled. Only the saying of the Nembutsu, then, is the mind of great compassion that is thoroughgoing. Thus were his words. Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu. Good morning, And happy Hanamatsuri to you. I'm very grateful to Reverend Kenji Akahoshi and the members of the San Diego Buddhist Temple for this kind invitation to join you for your virtual Hanamatsuri service from your homes where you are sheltering in place and staying at home and staying safe. This is an interesting time to be observing our Hanamatsuri. Hanamatsuri, the time when we traditionally gather at the temple, one of our most busy, most active gathering times for our services, and we gather friends and family to celebrate the birth of Shakyamuni Buddha and reflect upon his teachings and the great meaning that they provide for us in our lives and have provided over the generations for Buddhists throughout the world. This year, as we're sheltering in place, we're finding ourselves in very different circumstances. For me, I'm staying at home with my wife and my 3 sons, who are 8, 6, and 1 year old. And as we're spending a lot of time together, we're also thinking of our other family members who we're not getting to see. My sons are missing their grandparents, both my wife's mother in Japan and my parents who live in Minnesota. And were it not for this shelter-in-place order, would very well likely be visiting us around this time of year as my sons are currently on their spring break. Of course, now, it's been, in a sense, kind of one long break from school, but not a break from studying. We're continuing to do our studying at home and working hard to continue our children's education, but not without its challenges. Of course, many of you, I imagine, have kids home from school or perhaps grandchildren who are home from school, and as parents, we're doing our best with this education from a distance. And it's not easy, it's challenging, and oftentimes in our house, we're trying to get the boys to focus on their work, but when they're home, they're ready to play. And the 2 brothers love to go outside, and these days in San Mateo where we live, it's been raining quite a bit these last couple weeks, and so they've been enjoying playing in the mud and have transformed 1/4 of our front yard into a giant mud pit. And so it's quite a mess, and it can be a little bit of effort to clean up the dirty clothes when they're done. And so for me, thinking about this and thinking about trying to remain patient and just like the Buddha, who is our guide, to be understanding and compassionate. I look for guidance to those who've come before, and for me, one of my great guides and role models as a parent is my own grandmother, who lives by herself on a farm in rural Iowa. So I've been thinking about her, and the other day I called her up just to check in on her, thinking, well, she lives by herself, and I know my uncles are checking in on her, but they're also trying to do social distancing there, where she lives and in her life. And so I just thought it would be good to see how she's doing. I called her up, and immediately she began sharing with me how the weather has been there, which of course is much worse than California. She had freezing rain and woke up, it was 23 degrees. She had a sheet of ice on the front walk in front of her house. But she was cheerful because it was going to be sunny and warming up later that day, looking forward to having some warmer temperatures and some sunshine to melt off all that ice. And I was talking to her. Of course, she's most interested in, how are the great-grandchildren for her, how are they doing, and telling some stories about them and their various antics around the yard, and just keeping us very busy. And, she laughed and she said, yep, that's the way it is. And she was recalling her own memories of raising 3 sons. She also raised 3 sons. She raised also 4 daughters. So over the space of about 13 years, she had 7 children. And she remembers raising them. And she said something to me that really hit home at this time when I was feeling a little bit stressed out, having my kids at home and trying to do my own work and trying to get them going with their schoolwork. And she said, when they're active, when they're running around, when they're getting into mischief, that's what they should be doing at their age. That shows you that they're healthy, that they're doing well, that they're doing exactly what they should be doing. And to me, that was great wisdom. It spoke of her long life of over 90 years, her experience raising 7 children, and reminding me that in the midst of this difficulty, we are to cherish and be grateful for the health that if we are enjoying good health, the health that we're enjoying, and the connections of love and caring that we share with one another. And so at this time of Hanamatsuri, as we reflect upon Shakyamuni Buddha and his life, we reflect with gratitude on the way in which the teachings that he appeared in this world to provide have guided and supported us over generations going back 2,500 years. This time, during this coronavirus COVID-19 outbreak, many of us are looking back to the past, reflecting upon those who have come before, looking for guidance in their experiences. And in many cases, we hear people speaking of the great Spanish flu epidemic of 1918 and thinking about how people lived through that. That was, many people think that's probably, the last time that we had something quite of this scale throughout this world that impacted life here in the United States quite this much. And they were also doing social distancing. They didn't perhaps use those terms, but they were doing the same sort of thing at that time. And that was also a time when the Nembutsu teaching was beginning to thrive here in the United States, and we have examples and role models of people of the Nembutsu who lived through that time and did so with wisdom, with compassion, with kindness, with understanding. And I feel that we can look to them for guidance as we consider how are we to live through this most difficult period. For me, one of the great role models we have from that time is Mrs. Shinobu Matsuura. She was a minister's wife, the wife of Reverend Issei Matsuura, and when she first came to the United States, she lived with Reverend Issei Matsuura. Together they lived in Guadalupe, California. Many of you perhaps familiar with Guadalupe. It's up the coast from where you are, there in San Luis Obispo County. It's actually, I believe it's in Santa Barbara County, actually, but it's just right on the San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara County border, just near San Luis Obispo. And it was historically a farming town, still is an agricultural area, and in the early 1900s was a home to a thriving Japanese farming community. And Mr. and Mrs. Matsuura, Reverend and Mrs. Matsuura, were ministering to that community. And just after Mrs. Matsuura arrived, her first winter there in California, in Guadalupe, World War I had just finished. People were kind of in a celebratory, happy mood, and just at that time, the Spanish flu hit. And Mrs. Matsuura describes in her book, Higan, Compassionate Vow, which is originally written in Japanese and more recently translated into English. She describes the experience of living through that Spanish flu. This book is still available. Many temples have copies in their libraries. It's really a treasure. And I wanted to share this essay with you that she wrote. I don't normally read long, it's not super long, but I don't normally read essays like this in a Dharma talk, but I feel like at this time, as we're reflecting and considering how are we to live in this difficult time, that I really feel that all of the words that Mrs. Matsuura shares have great meaning for us. So I ask, for your patience while I read this essay, but I think you'll find, as I do, that it's very meaningful and that it really speaks to this has a Hanamatsuri connection, but also this time of epidemic disease that we live through. So I'll read this letter, and then I'd like to share some reflections on that. This is an essay from the book Higan, Compassionate Vow. The title of the chapter is Jubako, First Year in America. In my house, there is a set of rather oversized, tiered lacquer boxes, decorated with pine and crane. It is rare these days to see such an elaborate design. 4 tiers of boxes with 2 covers. On ordinary days, its existence is hardly noticed, and it sits in some corner. But on New Year's and Hanamatsuri, it performs in splendor by entertaining guests, filled to the brim with home-prepared delicacies. This jubako has been with us for more than 40 years, through both happy and sad days. Somehow it seems, though in silence, to tell the story of our half-century journey in America. Recently, I received a letter from a Nisei friend who wrote, "I regret I have not written sooner, but the family has been suffering with a terrible flu this year. Until now, dashing about with daily chores, I have had no time to look back to days past. But since forced to bed in this time, I have been recalling the tragic epidemic of Spanish flu in 1918 and relived the anguish. And I ached especially for my poor mother, who died then without knowing a peaceful and secure life. During that time, this friend had lost her mother, as well as 3 other members of her family. I glanced at the jubako with sadness and took up my pen." In mid-November 1918, the First World War had ended, and for the first time in several years, everyone relaxed and celebrated jubilantly. Oh, how happy we were! But it was to last only for a moment. Toward the end of that month, the dreaded flu epidemic began. The suffering and aggravation then cannot be even imagined now. People were dying everywhere, with few remaining to remember. Young and old, men and women, rich and poor, regardless of race or nationality, the flu went on a rampage and decimated all. The frightening impression is etched in my mind especially because that was my first winter away from my comfortable childhood home in Japan. It was the rainy season at the end of the year. Few owned automobiles yet. The roads were impossible in the countryside, and in fact, the camps were essentially in isolation. In this post-war period, doctors and nurses were scarce. In addition, the hospitals were filled and had to stop accepting patients until space was made available through death. Thus, churches and school buildings were turned into temporary hospitals. Our Guadalupe Valley was mostly sugar beet farms, and many Japanese lived in the camps on those farms. Hardly any of the barracks had telephones, so those who were stricken could not call for help nor go out to buy medicine or supplies. My husband was a young, energetic man then. Every morning he borrowed a horse and buggy from the constable to transport enema instruments, fever medication, laxatives, and other first aid supplies from camp to camp. There were some people in terrible fever who had not taken food for days, and others on their deathbed. The critically ill were taken to a clinic for professional help. For others, he would give okayu, rice gruel, and medicine. Funerals occurred almost daily. People were banned from forming crowds, so the funerals were sparsely attended only by close family members, and bodies were quietly buried at the cemetery or cremated. The bleak scene of everyone donning surgical masks in an attempt to contain the epidemic was pathetic beyond tears. But the most distressing were families where the parents were severely ill and there was no one to look after their children. Thus, in the evenings, we traveled from house to house to pick up infants to take to the temple for care. Of course, to me, a new bride, it was all bewildering. The makeshift cribs, preparation of milk, not to mention bathing, changing diapers, and all the anxieties of caring for children. Many nights I cried along with the babies as I held them in my arms. When I reflect now, it sounds like a fabricated story because the entire scene was so devastating. In time, when parents recovered, the joy and relief of seeing them come for their children transformed the task into a happy one. One by one, the children returned to their parents. One particular event stands out in my memory. One evening, towards the end of the year, my husband brought home a 2-week-old infant boy, saying that there was no one to look after him since both of his parents, in bad condition, were being hospitalized. I saw that this sweet baby was thin and weak from lack of nourishment. Worried, I took him to a doctor. But the baby was so fragile, the doctor could not help. I was determined that the baby would get better, anticipating the joyous day of his reunion with his young parents. It was not to be. The day before the parents were to be discharged from the hospital, the baby died at the temple. The parents had hoped that the boy would grow up to be a strong man and had named him Iwao, meaning boy as strong as a rock. He was the first son, firstborn. To have such a short life of only 1 month on this earth, and for sweet Iwao to be deprived of his mother's warm breast at the end, I was at a loss. I could not find words to console the parents, just out of the hospital themselves. The couple mourned. He was not meant to live, but in his short life he was fortunate to have died in the temple, looked after by the minister and his wife. We are certain he is embraced by the Buddha now, they said. 2 weeks later, they came with the elegant ojubako and expressed thanks that through this experience they had come closer to the temple. If only Iwao were alive, we ruefully repeated for days. We saw the couple at the services and went to the cemetery together for 5 or 6 years. They did not have another child, and in time returned to Japan. It has been over 40 years now, and when I think about them, my heart aches. The pine trees and crane painted on the jubako always appear vibrant. Namam Lavats, Namam Lavats, Namam Lavats, Namam Lavats, Namam Lavats, Namam. To me, this is a beautiful story of how one who lives in the Nembutsu lives through these difficult times. We think about the way that Mrs. Matsura lived. She had just arrived here in the United States, was just settling in herself, a new bride, didn't even have, her own children at that point, did not know the various tasks of caring for children, and yet in the time of this epidemic disease, she and Reverend Matsura immediately stepped in and did what they could, opening the doors of the temple to support those in their community, caring for children as the parents were ill and trying to recover from the disease. And in this way, really embodying to me the compassion of the Buddha, the wisdom that Shakyamuni Buddha taught 2,500 years ago and more, and continues to resonate here in the United States today, thanks to the hard work of people of the Nembutsu, followers of Shakyamuni Buddha's teachings, like Mrs. Matsura. She describes how this ojubako that she received was something that she would bring out on joyous occasions, such as New Year's Day and Hanamatsuri. And when we think about that ojubako, an ojubako is a tiered box. Many of you may have one of these in your home or have family members who have them, but they're used on special occasions filled with the special treats, New Year's delicacies or Hanamatsuri treats, and will be filled up 3 or even 4 layers of delicious food that then can be taken out and shared with others on the occasion of this joyful celebration. And if you think about the way she describes this beautiful ojubako, where the design and the imprint. She says the pine trees and crane painted on the ojubako always appear vibrant. Such beautiful poetic words, the quality of this item. I think we can imagine that these were a poor farming family. They didn't have a lot of means to go out and purchase and acquire something like this to give to the Matsuras. So surely this was a wedding gift, a treasure, a family heirloom perhaps that they had brought with them from Japan, and likely their most valuable possession that they chose to give to Mrs. Matsura as a show of their appreciation for the care that their daughter had received. And so cherishing this jubako was Mrs. Matsura's way of maintaining that connection of care, compassionate concern, and maintaining that connection in the midst of this time of joy, this Hanamatsuri season, also remembering the sadness that we experience within this life. And this is, I think, a really powerful message to reflect upon as we observe Hanamatsuri in this time of COVID-19 outbreak, stay at home, shelter in place, that we're joyous, we rejoice that Shakyamuni Buddha came into this world and provided his teachings. And how can we hold joy in our hearts in the midst of all the suffering and difficulty in our world today? And we can look to Mrs. Matsura, I believe, as our example of one who, in the midst of the moments of joy, also holds the sadness, the suffering of this world. Recalling that sadness also, there is the comfort and the joy that comes within the Dharma. And this is the Buddhist way of living, the way of living that we have passed down from Shakyamuni Buddha, that our joys and our sadness are not compartmentalized, favoring only the joy, pushing away the sadness, but Shakyamuni Buddha teaches us to embrace the totality of our life and our existence and to recognize our own human limitations. If we think about Mrs. Matsura's example of living, as she reflects back on that time, she describes in detail all of the hard work that she did, all of the dedication that her husband had, and we get a clear picture of how hard she worked. And yet, her way of reflecting on it is not, wow, I did such a great job, but the one thing that she remembers from that time was this child who had been entrusted into her care and whose life she was not able to save. And to me, that awareness of limitation and that sense of deep compassionate connection is a reflection of the wisdom of one who lives in the Nembutsu, one who lives guided by these teachings of Shinran Shonin. At the start of my Dharma talk here, I read a passage from the Tanisho, which is a record of Shinran Shonin's teachings, and this really captures, I think, the way in which we can live the compassion taught by Shakyamuni Buddha in this world that we live in. For us of the Nembutsu, Shakyamuni Buddha's teaching on the Pure Land path is our guide to live with wisdom and compassion. And so we can look to these words. Shinran Shonin writes that concerning compassion, there's a difference between the path of sages and the Pure Land path. The path of sages is the path of accomplishing. Shinran says it's the path of to pity, to commiserate with, to care for beings. This is what we all, I think, are endeavoring to do in whatever way we can at this time. And Shinran Shonin says it is extremely difficult, however, to accomplish the saving of others, just as one wishes. We hear about those in places like New York and Italy who are struggling to provide medical care, who are really doing their best, but don't have enough supplies, don't have enough equipment to really provide the care they wish. And our heart goes out to them, and we feel distress just hearing these stories. And we're reminded how very difficult it is to accomplish the saving of others just as we wish. With this deep awareness, we can turn our hearts to the Pure Land path, which Shinran Shonin says, compassion in the Pure Land path should be understood as first attaining Buddhahood quickly, through saying the Nembutsu, and with the mind of great love and great compassion, freely benefiting sentient beings as one wishes. So in the Nembutsu, we turn our mind to the Buddha. We receive this vast, compassionate heart of the Buddha. In the midst of our own limitations, this isn't to say that we just give up and say, I can't do it perfectly, so not even try, but rather we continue to make the effort, knowing that indeed our efforts are limited, but that through the Nembutsu we receive the mind of great love and great compassion from the Buddha that enables us to, in the midst of the distressing, the sad, the difficult, to carry on in the comfort and the knowledge that we are embraced, that all beings are embraced in the compassion of the Buddha. And so Shinran Shonin says, however much love and pity we may feel in our present lives, it is hard to save others as we wish. Hence, such compassion remains unfulfilled. Shinran writes, or rather teaches, only the saying of the Nembutsu then is the mind of great compassion that is thoroughgoing. So this is a teaching that Shinran Shonin delivered orally. It was recorded and passed down by, we believe, his student Yuyenbo. And this was a teaching that Yuyen selected and said, this is something that we must remain clear on for Shinran Shonin's teachings. This is a way in which the Buddha's wisdom and compassion is fulfilled in the Nembutsu embodied in Shinran Shonin's teachings. And so as we at this time reflect upon our lives as we live through this difficult period, I find it meaningful to look back for guidance to those who have come before in the Nembutsu, those such as Shinran Shonin, those such as Shinobu Matsura, who have taken comfort in the wisdom of Shakyamuni Buddha, who have taken to heart his teaching of the Nembutsu that is our guide through this life of difficulty and our way of realizing this heart of great compassion that is thoroughgoing in the Nembutsu, so that we can continue to do our best effort to help others, also recognizing that though we have limitations, we are embraced and supported by the great compassion and the mind of great awakening of the Buddha. So at this time I will transition, and Reverend Akahoshi invited me to provide reflection in Japanese as well. So for the Japanese speakers, I'm just going to share a few words in Japanese as well at this time. このお彼岸花祭りですね。花祭りの時にお釈迦様のご誕生を祝う法要ですね。でお釈迦様の誕生を祝う時には、その釈迦様が教えた教えは何が一番大切である、私たちのために何を解けるためにこの世に現れたかと、ね、よくよく考えるご縁となりますね。で私たちお念仏いただく人は、この阿弥陀如来の本願の教えが私たちの救いとなる見教え、これこそ釈迦様が私たちのために説かれた見教えですね。今は本当に世の中が大変な事情となっておりますね。皆様もお家で、ね、安全にお家で多分自分の、パソコンとかね、自分の携帯電話とかで iPad とかこのご法話を聞いていると思いますが、この仏様の見教え、本願のお心がこのどこに行ってもどこでも皆様のところに届きますね。私たちがこの大変の中、自分は人生として何をすればいいかと、ね、そういう問いも心の中にあると思います。で、親鸞上人は「歎異抄」の第4章の教えにこれはよくね、慈悲について書かれておりますので、これを尋ねたら今の生き方についての非常にためになると 私が思っております。今からこの歎異抄の第4章を読んで、それについてちょっとお味わいさせていただきたいと思います。慈悲について、小道門と浄土門とでは違いがあります。小道門の慈悲とは、すべてのものを憐れみ、愛しみ、育むことですが、しかし思いのままに救う遂げることは極めて難しいことです。一方、浄土門の慈悲は念仏して速やかに仏となり、その大いなる慈悲の心で、思いのままにすべてのものを救うことを言うです。このように生きている間は、どれほどかわいそうだ、気の毒だと思っても、思いのままに救うことはできないのだから、このような慈悲は完全なものではありません。ですから、ただ念仏することだけが本当に徹底した大いなる慈悲の心なのです。このように上人は仰せになりました。これは「歎異抄」の現代語訳ですね。もともとの「歎異抄」も非常にありがたい言葉ですけど、これはね、少し私日本語が母語じゃないですから、これが分かりやすいですね。で、親鸞上人がここでおっしゃっているのは、その自分が人を救おうと思っても、自分の力で完全に救うことは非常に難しいですね。今の一生懸命人の人生を救おうとしているお医者さんは本当にありがたく頑張っていらっしゃいますね。でもその医者さんからよく聞くのは、救えなかった人が多いから非常にお気の毒だと思いますね。これは徹底的に、医学を勉強した方でさえ人を救うことはできませんね。私はとっても人を救うことはできないと、今は気づいているところですけどね。でもこのお念仏をいただくことによって、仏様のお稲荷すべての、人を救うお心はいただくことができますね。その仏様の心にいただいたおかげで、諦めず、人のためにできることだけを自分を尽くすことが、そこで力の心のエネルギーというかやりがいが出てきますので、これは本願が私を救って、釈迦様が説かれたこの御教えのありがたいことは、私が本日いただくこのお念仏の御教えですね。お念仏はこの花祭りの時に本当にありがたく味わいさせていただくことができますので、釈迦様はそのためにこの世に現れたことも心で確認できる尊いご縁となりますね。ここで本日の花祭りのご縁をここで終わらせていただきたいと思います。皆さんどうもありがとうございます。また今度直接会う日を楽しみにしていますね。では本当に本日の花祭りご縁どうもありがとうございます。So this will conclude my Hanamatsuri Dharma talk for the members of the San Diego Buddhist Temple. Once again, thank you for this precious opportunity to reflect together on the Nembutsu in the midst of these challenging times. In conclusion, I invite you to join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Nam Mam Da Butsu, Nam Mam Da Butsu, Nam Mam Da Butsu, Nam Mam Da Butsu, Nam